As a small business owner, you have questions. Will my cash flow cover expenses? How do I get understandable, actionable reports about my business? What is the best option for raising capital? Clarity CFO is your finance partner that thinks like an entrepreneur. We're all about helping you improve cash flow, meet opportunities with confidence, and grow your business. Visit our website at www.claritycfo.com to receive a free review of your business metrics and to start getting answers to your questions. Cash flow, confidence, growth. Visit claritycfo.com today.
Small business owners and CEOs, where do you turn for objective counsel on your most critical business decisions? How do you assure your personal growth as a CEO? How do you get an unbiased review of your plans and strategic direction? What provisions are you making for perpetuation of your business beyond yourself? For over 20 years, CEO Builder has been the answer to these questions for many Utah CEOs. Join us for a complimentary forum or coaching session through our website at www.ceobuilder.com.
As a small business owner, you are not just building a business, you're building a legacy. Let the attorneys at Callister, Nebaker, and McCullough counsel and assist you as you navigate the legal complexities of organizing, financing, and operating a successful business. At Callister, Nebaker, and McCullough, we build, cultivate, and defend legacies. Your business, your family, your future. To learn more about how we can help, call 801-530-7300 or visit us online at cnmlaw.com. That's cnmlaw.com.
It's tough for small businesses to keep up with all the new regulations, the new healthcare law, employee handbooks, human resources, OSHA safety, employment discrimination and harassment, business insurance, workers' compensation. It is all so complicated. Most business owners are doing their best just to make a small profit. If there were only a simplified way to manage all of this, now there is. Summit Risk Management in Insurance can show you how. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Good morning, Utah small business owners. Welcome to the Small Business Hour with your hosts, Mark Hunter and Chris Brown. It's time for your business to go from small to large.
Good morning, Utah business owners. This is Chris Brown with my good friend Mark Hunter for the Small Business Hour. And just as a reminder, we're here to help support, promote, and educate Utah-based small businesses so that they can grow and thrive and become large businesses someday. To learn more about our show, our hosts, or any of our upcoming events, remember you can always visit us online at www.small2large.com, and that's the number 2 in the middle there. Mark, why don't you tell us about today's sponsors?
Yeah, we're really thankful for our sponsors, a couple of great companies, Callister, Nebaker, and McCullough. They're a leader in providing legal services to small businesses and individuals, and with offices along the Wasatch Front. And it's critical when you work with a law firm or an attorney, it's that you trust the person that you work with. So cnmlaw.com. Also Social 5, social and mobile marketing strategies for today's digital marketplace. You don't want to allow your business to be left behind. So contact Social 5 today at social5.com.
And we really appreciate our sponsors. The show wouldn't be possible without them. We're really happy to have some great companies that have decided to step up and help promote not just our show, but Utah small business in general, because these companies are supporting our show and are going to be participating in our upcoming workshops so that they can help small business owners succeed. So let's get in today's segment. For today's interview, we have Larry Myler from Buy Monday. And Larry's here to talk about ways that organizations can increase sales. And as we mentioned last week, when we talk to different businesses throughout Utah and they talk about the problems that they have and how busy they are or how difficult it may be to manage their operation, they still universally seem to be looking for ways to increase sales. I can't ever remember running across a business owner who said that he wanted to turn down sales.
No more sales for me, please.
Yeah, I mean, people joke about it. They say, oh, we're so overwhelmed, we've backed up and everything else, but they're not really wanting to decrease sales. So I think that increasing sales is a topic that is useful to every small business owner, and this is where Larry has a real area of expertise. And so could you start out, Larry, by telling us a little bit about By Monday and your organization and what you do, and then we'll get into some more specific questions.
Sure, Chris, and thanks for having me on the show today. So the reason we're called By Monday is because as a consulting firm, we help organizations increase sales or decrease costs or run more efficiently quickly. Sometimes it is by Monday. If it takes longer, it might be by Tuesday or Thursday, who knows, but we get things done quick for our clients. And one of the things we've known from the very beginning is for a company to be successful, they have to increase their sales over time. They want to grow, right? Everyone wants to grow. So we've broken down through some research as part of my work as an adjunct professor at BYU in the entrepreneurship department. We've broken down what it takes to make sales. And interestingly, it's not just, getting our salespeople out there making more sales calls or closing more deals. That's part of it. But I thought maybe today we could run through the 4 main areas of sales increases, if that's okay. Do you think that would be a good thing for your audience?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think that it's very easy to speak generally about increasing sales, but if for a lot of organizations, if they just go back and do the same thing that they've been doing without looking at their processes and everything that goes into it, then they may not achieve the results that they hope to achieve.
Great. Well, why don't we just break it down then piece by piece, and we'll go through these 4 areas that sales can be increased in. The first one is strategic alignment. I'll tell you something funny. I've probably done this over a dozen times. I'll sit down with an executive team in an organization, and we're sitting in their boardroom around the conference table. And I'll say, so get out a piece of paper and write down the 3 most important reasons why your customers buy your products or services. And everyone's writing their own individual list. And interestingly, at the end of this exercise, we compare the lists, and guess what?
They're all different?
They're all different.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Now, would you call that a strategic creep where the organization has lost focus, or do you think that's because there never really was a focus?
Oh yeah, it's probably the latter, because we're all busy. So from startup phase to more mature phase in the organization, we never sit down and ask our customers, why do you buy our products? It's a really big mistake. It's a fundamental mistake, and most people make it. So let's go back to that boardroom for a second. So we're sitting down there with the 10 or 12 executives, right? And we find out that everyone has a different view of the main reasons why their customers are buying their products. So the next thing we do is we say, okay, let's come to consensus. Let's talk this out. What do you know? What piece of the puzzle do you have? Tell us your opinion. And after about an hour of arm wrestling, we come up with a consensus list. Good news, right?
Well, assuming that the list makes sense, if we come to a consensus that's okay, continue.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not good news, because the next thing I say is, okay, now you got 600 or 6,000 or 60,000 people working every day in the organization. What do you think their list of the top 3 things that drive customer behaviors looks like? Do you think it's the same thing as we just came to consensus around? No way. Everyone's got their own list. And so the millions of decisions that are made every day or every week or every month in the organization, and the actions that come from those decisions, are based on what every individual thinks is driving customer behavior and customer satisfaction. And so it's even worse than that, though, because what we just came up with through this hour of consensus building in this boardroom, it's meaningless. Why do you think that is?
Well, because we need to get that out to the organization so that they're on the same page as well.
Well, and do they want to be on that same page?
These are all good things to look at. But my main point here is, what would a customer say?
Right.
Because this artificial consensus that we built was in a vacuum. The old saying, there are no facts inside our building. The facts are all outside the building.
Right. It's like when a salesperson goes out to a presentation and all they do is push information out, as opposed to finding out what is really of interest to their potential customer.
Exactly. And we've all heard the term voice of the customer, right? You've got to get the voice of the customer. Amazingly, people don't go out and ask and I'm talking now about a high-level strategy view, right? So the executive team responsible for making the strategy often do it in a vacuum, without the real facts, without asking customers, why do you buy our product? Or more importantly, sometimes, why do you not buy our product, right?
Or even, what product do you want? I mean, we've seen huge organizations spend sometimes millions of dollars on a product that it turns out no one wants.
Exactly. In fact, Steve Blank, if anyone's followed his work, he's done 8 startups and they've mostly been successful. And now he teaches at the university level, and I think he teaches at Stanford entrepreneurship. And he says that the reason for a startup, right? A startup organization is I think the quote goes like this: a temporary organization that is established to search out and find that business model that will work. And so rather than create something and go out and hope the market will buy it, you need to go out to the market first and find out what they want. And that's really the kind of entrepreneurial flavor is missing from a lot of organizations. And if you want to revitalize the organization and jumpstart sales, first place to start is to go out and ask your customers what they would buy, what they won't buy, and match your output as an organization strategically with what they would buy. And of course that goes to messaging and positioning and business model and everything else. So step 1, strategy.
Now, when you talk about that, one thing that I wonder is, do you find organizations that you get through that process, but maybe they're afraid to ask their customers because they might not like what the customers are going to say, and so there's some anxiety about going out to their customers?
It's called pathological proprietorship, okay? Where someone has got an idea of what the strategy should be, and they're afraid to have it dismissed by a market, and so they don't want to go out and ask. And of course, that runs an organization right into the ground pretty fast. So we have to shed our egos. We have to be bold, and we have to go out and ask customers what they would want. Now, obviously, if we can do that, right, if we can strategically at the high level of the organization align our output with the demands of the market, then we have a better shot at sales. Very important first step. Ready to move on to the next step?
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is the one that everyone thinks of most, and this is the sales force going out and making one-on-one presentations. Now, if you ask any sales manager about the ability of their sales force to go out and close deals, they probably tell you something like this. We have a couple that really do well at closing deals. Their hit rate is pretty phenomenal, and we love their work, and their production is high. And we have some people who are really terrible at sales, and most of our people are in between. And we'd love to bottle what the successful person is doing, and make everyone else drink it.
Kind of the 80-20 type concept.
Exactly. And it doesn't need to be that way. There are ways to get a consistent message throughout the entire sales force, and have them asking the right questions, have them proposing the right answers. But here's the problem with the way most salespeople go out and do their job. And Mark, you referenced this earlier. They go out and they want to tell, right? They want to show.
Right.
They want to convince. They want to change the perceptions of the prospect. But the second they try to do any of that, sales resistance goes way up.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're all hardwired with sales resistance.
Nobody wants to be sold.
Exactly.
We all want to buy.
And they don't want to hear that they might have made bad decisions, because sometimes if we're trying to sell a new product to someone, what we're implicitly telling them is that, well, that previous product, that previous service, the way you were doing things was wrong.
Or even the provider.
Those are all things that we run into every day in sales, right? So here's the trick. You ready? This is the key. Do not try to change the perception of the prospect. Instead, try to reveal and discover and understand the perception of the prospect. And if you can do that and this is really an art, okay, through the proper use of questions, if you can get at the perception and the thinking behind the decisions of the customers, then you will actually find out everything you need to know to sell them, everything you need to know to present to them. You'll know exactly how to present it. You know exactly what features to emphasize, and you'll know how to close the deal.
Yeah, and you actually show interest in what they have to say.
What they have to say is everything, and if it's not everything, then you're going to miss the boat, and resistance will go up.
Well, a lot of salespeople just are terrible listeners. Even when they're listening, they're not really listening, because they're just waiting for their turn to pop back in with their pitch that they've memorized, or whatever approach they believe has worked in the past. And I think that the ability to listen is sometimes something that maybe we should be teaching salespeople.
Well, and even listening and then digging deeper to actually uncover deeper hidden concerns.
Mm-hmm. Here's the test of whether someone is actually listening and has the best interest of the prospect at heart. Here's the test. If you're willing to say, all right, based on what you tell me, we may not be a match for each other.
Right. Absolutely.
Based on what you're telling me, I might point you to a competitor. And if that's the honest feeling of someone, then you know you're approaching this from the right angle. You're really listening and really trying to hook up the best solutions with the problems that you discover.
Absolutely. And Mark and I go on sales appointments, and we've experienced that. And I don't want to say that we're experts in sales.
Oh, yes, we are. Come on.
Okay. But I mean, we were just on an appointment the other day where, we said, actually, your idea will probably save you a lot of money. Now, we think that we've got alternatives, but we're not going to say that that's a bad idea. I mean, that might be the right alternative for your organization. And I think if you're not willing to admit that you don't always have the best solution, whatever you're selling, that gives you a lot of credibility with the prospect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's what we've seen. When people can convert from telling and convincing and changing perceptions and selling, basically, to listening and understanding and revealing perceptions, here's what's happened in the past with our clients. We've seen a client go from losing 8 out of 10 bids and 8 out of 10 presentations to winning 9 out of 10.
Wow.
It's that dramatic. It's that dramatic. And I'll tell you what, your prospects can sense in about the first 10 seconds of the conversation which side of this fence you're on, whether you're telling and pushing or listening and inviting information.
Absolutely. I agree completely based upon, my experience. And here's something that I've run into, though. Sometimes customers are so programmed by all the bad sales techniques that when you go out and you actually try and do a consultative sale, they kind of sometimes they almost don't know how to respond because they're waiting for a pitch. They're sitting there waiting for you to pitch them
for the shoe to
something.
Drop.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I mean, we've sometimes the salespeople trained our potential customers to really make it harder for us to work with them.
I agree 100% with that. There are a lot of stereotypes here that we walk into and can't really do anything about it. We just have to prove where we are. Now, here's a way to break the ice and kind of change the thinking initially. I like this phrase to start. I don't know if what we have is going to work for you, but at the end of about a 15-minute conversation, you'll be able to tell me if this does or doesn't. And you basically give the control to the prospect. There's an excellent book by Jim Camp, and it's called No. Literally, that's the title, N-O, one word. And I recommend it for anyone who negotiates regularly or is trying to sell anything for a living, because what he says, and I love this, he says, you have to go into the presentation with the attitude that you don't need this sale. I mean, you don't need the deal, right? I mean, what do you really need? If you think about it, you need air. You need water. You need food. You need shelter and clothing. Some would argue you might need a few other things. But you don't need this deal. And if you walk in, hungry dog after squirrel kind of an attitude, then people can sense that. But if you walk in and say, I don't need this deal and I may not get this deal, but what I'm going to find out is what the customer needs and see if I can help them, that changes the game. So it's that mentality shift that has to happen in order to break down some of these stereotypes that are already in place before we even open our mouths, right?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And we're coming up on our break here, and we've got a lot to talk about after the break. So let's go ahead and just sort of wrap up this segment up, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the other two of your 4 topics, and then Mark and I would like to just ask you some questions, probably based upon some of our own personal experience as salespeople, because that's what we do during the day to earn a living. So we'll be right back after this short break. Thanks.
He's just made in America.
There are 5 key questions every successful business owner asks every day. How can we increase innovation? How can we reduce operating costs? How can we grow our sales and market share? How can we create new products and stay cutting edge? And how can we improve our cash flow? By Monday's Howcanology web app answers all of those questions by empowering your employees to become valuable, producing entrepreneurs. Contact By Monday at 801-225-1600 to learn more about Howcanology.
As a small business owner, I have struggled with controlling my workers' compensation costs. Some of my injured workers have really taken advantage of the system, costing me an arm and a leg, no pun intended. I finally found someone who can help, Summit Risk Management and Insurance. They have saved my company thousands of dollars on my insurance costs and have improved my safety program. I recommend them to any business owner. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
If you own a small business, you've experienced problems with technology. Lost files, server crash, blue screen of death. It always means one thing, an IT nightmare that keeps you from running your business. IT Now keeps those IT nightmares at bay. IT Now is the leading provider of professional IT services for small and medium businesses. Call IT Now today for a free network evaluation, and soon you could be nightmare-free and experience the bliss of things running as they should. 801-562-8778.
Phil, your golf game is amazing. Where do you find the time?
I've been using ADP for my business. I manage my payroll, retirement plan, and HR all on my iPad, mobile app, or with a quick phone call. It's easy and really affordable.
I'm just so busy. Sounds great. How do I get a quote?
Call Dave at 800-422-3705. He's been with ADP here in Utah for 15 years.
Thanks. That number was 800-422-3705, right?
Yeah, 800-422-3705.
Okay, so we're back with Larry Myler from Buy Monday, and we're going to be continuing on his list of 4 sales accelerators. And if you wouldn't mind, Larry, if you could just recap the first 2 before we go on to number 3.
Sure. So number 1, again, is strategic alignment. So what is the message you're going to the market with? Do you understand why your customers buy or why they might not buy? And how do you position your company from a high-level strategy? That's kind of one-to-many messaging. Number 2 is the one-to-one message of the sales presentation. So you got a sales force or a salesperson talking across the table to a sales prospect. And how do you handle that in a way that increases the hit rate and your win rate on presentations and bids? So now we're moving into number 3. So now let's say the prospect has turned into a customer. So the question is, from a sales perspective, how do we increase revenue from that group of existing customers? Let's just talk about this, because there are a couple of ways to look at this that are kind of top of mind here. One is, how do we sell more of our products and services to an existing customer? So we might have 8 inventory items or packages or products or whatever that we could sell, but we've sold 1 to a customer.
You want to take them from a B or C level customer to an A level customer.
Exactly. And one of the ways of doing that is to sell more existing products to that existing customer. If you look at the old marketing matrix, old and new products versus old and new customers, the existing products and the existing customers, that quadrant in that 2x2 matrix is the easiest way to increase your revenues. You have a happy customer that likes you, that trusts you, you've got a relationship. Hey, they're not buying this other product and they could use it, so let's sell it to them, right? Another way to increase from existing customers is to sell to more departments inside that company. Maybe they have sister companies, or maybe they can get referrals for you for other companies. But using the relationship to increase sales is a really nice and easy way to go. Of course, there's also the issue of the overall value of a customer, lifetime value of a customer. We've heard that concept before.
And sorry to interrupt, Larry. How do you do that without your existing customer feeling like they're being sold again or being upsold? Without, again, coming in at kind of in a threatening, salesy type approach.
Well, and in particular, one of my questions is, Mark and I are both in the service industry, so we're not typically going to have a new product that they haven't already got. It's sometimes that makes it a little harder. I mean, I would love it if I could go out to somebody and say, hey, look at this new amazing thing that I've got but not all businesses are going to have that. Sometimes it's going to be getting them, like you say, to use more of what you already provide in some way.
Yeah, I think so. If you only have one product, one widget, one offering, and can't sell anything else to them, still the value of the customer can be quite great, because you can get them to be a raving fan. You can get them to refer other companies. Someone from that company that's your client will move to another company, and you want them to call you up and say, this new company needs you, right? So the lifetime value of a customer is pretty critical. Now, you asked the question, which is a really good question. How do you approach that customer and do it in a way that's not salesy and that doesn't raise resistance?
You don't want to lose what you've already got, right?
Yeah. So here's a really wonderful tool to do this. It's called the QBR, Quarterly Business Review. And you just set up the practice of touching base with your customer, take them to lunch, go to their office, have a phone call, whatever. And you ask the questions, what problems do you have that we could help you solve? It's the same type of questioning that you might ask a prospect before they become a customer. But now the relationship is different, right? So to make the decision to buy from you in the first place, it might be based on price, but now to stay with you is probably based more on service.
Oh, you want that relationship to be sticky, and that's a great concept.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to kind of just get a feel for how their overall business is going, because you may be able to meet some need that they never even considered you could meet. I mean, I know a lot of times our customers are surprised when they learn about some of the other things that we do. We thought you only did A. I had no idea you could help me with B, C, and D. Of course we'll use you for that because we like you.
And we trust you.
Bingo. Thus, existing products to existing customers is the easiest sales dollar, your easiest next sales dollar you'll get. So the quarterly business review is the vehicle, and we think it's non-intrusive. We think it's good customer service.
Well, it's about them.
It's all about them. And here's the interesting thing. In the QBR, if you ask the right questions and you're looking for problems, again, you're looking for gaps between what you're offering and what they're wanting. And anytime you can close that gap, and by the way, that gap management is critical for all 4 of these sales accelerators. But anytime you can close that gap in a QBR and innovate within your company to change, to become more aligned with the customer, you're increasing the value of the relationship and the trust factor goes up.
And I think customers really appreciate it when they recognize that your organization is being responsive to their needs. So, even if it's only a relatively minor change to your offering or process or whatever it might be, the fact that you made that adjustment to meet a customer's need, I think, once again, helps solidify that relationship.
All right, so that's number 3, right?
Number 3. So, drum roll. Number 4, final sales accelerator is a little bit different than the first 3 because the first 3 are customer contact oriented. But think about, before I go to number 4, think of the information we're gaining from the first 3. We're seeing gaps between what we're doing and what the customers are wanting. At the high level, number 1, strategy. At the one-on-one level, because it's critical intel from the market to understand why a prospect will and won't buy, and you get that in that sales presentation. And then number 3, existing customers. Every time you talk to the customer, to the market, you're getting this wonderful market intelligence. You're seeing the gap between what we're offering and what the market is wanting, and that gap gives rise to innovation. So who in the company is going to make all these innovative proposals and implement all of these innovative ideas? Who's going to do that?
The sales guy?
It could be the sales guy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It might be the sales guy, but normally the sales guy is going to discover it and hand it off to someone and maybe push for it or advocate for it. And maybe the senior leadership team is going to say, hey, here's a strategic twist we need to make to fill a gap. And they might ask who to implement it.
Now, I just have a question about that because in a lot of organizations, those what we might call the front line, the sales force, they aren't really well respected within the other departments of the organization. They're sometimes in some organizations they're almost disrespected. Necessary evil. So, I mean, do you see sometimes that you've got a sales force that has great insight into what the market wants, but it doesn't get back up to the decision makers?
Yet the interesting thing is without them,
there would be nothing.
Yeah. Nothing happens without sales. So you're kind of harking back to the age-old battle between sales and production, between sales and engineering, between sales and management, right? They're out there promising things to get the deal and people can't produce it, and lack of communication and silos, and this war starts to brew between sales and production somehow. So here's the way to bridge that gap. In fact, it really leads to point number 4, and that is what we're finding out through our strategic efforts and through our sales efforts and through our quarterly business reviews with existing customers. We're finding out these gaps. Now, to innovate them, those gaps need to be communicated back to the general populace of the company. the 80 or 90% of the company that is not in sales and not in customer service and not in senior leadership can be tasked with closing those gaps that we find out in these touch points with customers in the market. This is number 4. And this is perhaps the most powerful one because you engage the masses of the company to innovate and close gaps that help position our company well with customers and help us sell. And so if you can, basically what you're talking about is engaging every single person in the organization to become a salesperson. To
Right.
help.
So becoming a sales organization rather than just a sales team that is kind of out there on their own and we don't even, it's interesting. We work with lots of different businesses, and sometimes the salespeople aren't even employees. They've outsourced their sales to somebody who they think is just going to go out and do some great job on their own. But I really wonder, when you've done that sort of outsourcing, how much feedback you're getting and how much you can innovate with the really good intel that those salespeople might be getting in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's critical. Now, if you get this feedback loop going, right, this cycle of information / innovation happening, where the first 3 sales accelerators feed the innovation pipeline for the people in the organization to make changes, thereby making it easier to sell. And if that flywheel gets turning regularly enough, then you break down the barriers that are common in an organization between the sales force and the production. So anyway, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
They're all working together. They're on the same team.
They are. And that feedback loop allows a lot more communication between the sales force and the people that have to deliver what they're promising out there. So there
Excellent.
you go, 1 through 4.
Wow, so that was pretty quick. Well, we've got about 5 more minutes, but I sometimes forget when we get to the end of these segments to give our guests a chance to give their contact information. So Larry, if you wouldn't just mind, before I forget, letting our listeners know how they can get in touch with you if they have additional questions or would like to learn more about your services.
Sure. They can contact me directly on my email. That's lmyler, M-Y-L-E-R, @bymonday.com.
And that by Monday is just literally the word by, the word Monday.com.
Yep.
Nothing weird.
We'll get it done by Monday.
Not B-U-Y,
No.
B-Y.
B-Y.
By Monday. Also, if anyone is interested in reading a little bit more about this, I have a column on Forbes.com. You can just look up Forbes.com, Larry Myler, and my column will come up. I've written about 45 articles, some on this topic of sales and others on entrepreneurship, employee engagement, innovation, those types of things.
Now you've also authored a book.
I have. The book's called Indispensable by Monday, and that's really where the name of our consulting firm came from. And that book allows, it empowers rank and file people within organizations to become entrepreneurs and to think and act like owners and to look at the market and watch the customer needs and basically start innovating and proposing changes.
So why would they want to put themselves out there to do that? That can be scary.
It can be scary. That's why we wrote the book, and we have some software and we have other tools that people can use, because with just a little bit of empowerment, people can bring forward their great ideas. Some of the best ideas we've ever had for innovation, for cost cutting or revenue generation have come from people that are most unexpected to do that. I'll give you one quick example. In a healthcare organization, a guy had come from the construction industry, and he was in one of our workshops at a hospital, and he said, "I've only been here for 2 months, but here's what I've seen." And it's, we're throwing away $200,000 in catheters every year because of expiration dates. They expire on the shelf, and when we pull them out to use them in a procedure, heart cath or something like that, we have to throw them away. So my idea is, we'll just spend $20,000, build a program, and manage our inventory a little more tightly. And then someone else said, "Well, that's a good idea, but why don't we make sure that if it's on the shelf, it's our vendor's inventory." Mm-hmm. And so they called the vendor and said, "If it expires on the shelf, you replace it at your cost." And they said, "Okay." It was a 5-minute phone call.
Wow.
$200,000 a year.
Wow.
So it was several times the guy's salary in one innovation.
$200,000 in savings,
which equaled, given the profit margin in the company, about $4 million a year in sales. So they would either have to make $4 million a year in sales to put that same $200,000 on the bottom line, or
sales equivalency,
or do this innovation.
And I think it's good to look at sales equivalency, because sometimes if we just look at the cost associated with a particular action, we're kind of missing the big picture, because when we have that kind of cost savings, it's a lot of sales that we that we don't have to make just to deal with that one problem.
This topic, I think we should do another show on if you're open to that, Larry.
Well, sure, yeah. And we've done scores of we trained thousands of people in how to think and act like entrepreneurs and owners. We've given them the tools and the education necessary. Literally in a 1 or 2 hour session, we generally help put about $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in the bottom line. I mean, it's rare that we do less than $100,000, and sometimes we've done $3 million in one session.
Are these multi-million in revenue type companies? What are we talking about here?
Some are. Yeah, we've done aerospace firms and large financial firms and tech firms, and so we've done multi-billion-dollar companies and Fortune 100 companies. We've also worked with companies of 20 and 30 and 50 employees and still found a few $100,000.
A few $100,000 is a big deal to a company that size.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now we're running towards the end of our segment. There was just one other question that popped up. As far as like organizations, it seems like your approach kind of would work best with a flatter type of an organization. Do you promote organizations to kind of remove some of those barriers that might prevent innovation?
Actually, our system works with any hierarchy or any structure in the org chart.
Okay.
What it does, however, is it increases communication up and down the chain in the hierarchy in a way that almost gives it a de facto flat feel.
Okay.
And so
we don't have to be a flat organization to get some of the benefits of being flat.
No. Just communication needs to increase.
All right. Well,
now, before we're done, I just want to make sure everyone knows they can listen to this again at small2large.com, small2large.com, our website.
Thank you for being with us today, Larry, and we hope to speak to you again.
All right. Take care.
So much larger than life. I'm gonna watch it grow.
It's time for this week's First Utah Business Spotlight.
All right, well, we're back again. This is Mark Hunter, and today we're interviewing Anna Barbieri with the company called White Elegance. So thanks for being with us, Anna. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit about what your company does, for starters?
You bet. White Elegance was established about 23 years ago by my sister and myself, Tamara Perkins, my sister. I was going to the temple, the LDS temple, and in the temple they request that people wear white, all white.
Sure.
And there just really wasn't a large option for women in sizing and style. And I said to my sister, we really ought to make some attractive clothing in variety of sizes, variety of styles, and sell them on the open market. And she, 4 years later, said, let's do it. So we jumped in the business. Most people said we were absolutely crazy.
Well, sounds like a great niche to me.
It was a great niche, and most people saw it as too small of a niche. But we went after it, and we've had really good success. We're here 23 years later. There's 4 stores. We do everything from designing to manufacturing, production, and wholesale and retail, and then we also have a website.
Okay, so you've got your own designers in-house then?
We do. I have 1 full-time designer and 2 part-time. So we do all of it in-house. You can't go out and find a line of clothing that meets the requirements of the temple. So we really had to create our own.
So are all of your products then produced in the U.S.? Tell me about that, because there's a lot of clothing manufacturers that are outsourcing.
There sure are a lot of people outsourcing, and it really started about 10, 15 years ago. Unfortunately, it's really hard to produce clothing in the United States anymore. And in fact, there isn't really a fabric company that produces fabric in the United States. You have to go abroad for that. But we have kept everything we possibly can here in the United States because we can control quality and timing as well. But we also like to support our workers here in the United States. And there are a lot of good manufacturing companies that have good seamstresses, good sewers that put out a really good product. So we have done everything we can to stay here in the United States. There are some things like shoes and sweaters that we have to go overseas for. But in fact, it's interesting. There isn't a women's blouse company left in the United States as far as major manufacturing of women's blouses.
That's too bad. Well, so tell me about you'd mentioned bricks and mortar stores that you have. So tell me about maybe your distribution channel and how you, and you also mentioned a website.
We did. We had originally started out, Mark, by selling in homes. And we had women that jumped on board and became representatives for White Elegance. And they were around the country. And they just bought wholesale from us, and they would set up parties in women's home and go out and sell the product, and what they had on hand they'd sell, and what they didn't we would ship to them, and it worked out really beautifully. The internet came along. We were, I think, one of the first in the industry as far as tiny little niche boutiques that had a website, and it was because of 2 BYU students who heard about us. And they said, let us sell your clothing. And I said, oh, nobody's going to buy clothing on a website. And they said, come on, let's try it. And so we started a website, and it's done extremely well. We reach all over the United States. And then we set up our 4 stores.
And the 4 stores are located?
Murray, Orem, South Jordan, and Centerville, Utah.
Okay, so all here in Utah then. All right, well, that sounds great. So tell me, are there positives and negatives to the different ways you distribute your product? Is there one that's more profitable than the other? Or tell me a little bit about that.
You know, I think they all have their place. Outside of Utah, in small communities, women like to try on the clothing. They like to feel, they like the touch. They may not be familiar with purchasing online. They may not trust the online purchase. So those representatives that are in the smaller areas or that have a niche and a good relationship with the LDS population where they are, they do very well selling out of their homes.
You still have those, how you originally started?
We do. We have a few of those that just love selling out of their home.
Right.
And then we have also the website that does extremely well for those people, especially the younger generation. They have no problem buying things online. The key is to give the information, give as much good information to the customer as possible as far as sizing, styling, what works, what doesn't work for different body shapes, shipping, and that's always a challenge. The shipping rates continue to go up and up and up. You know, the cost of everything continues to go up, and yet people's expectations on the website is that your prices should be going down, down, down.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a win-lose for that's a win-win for everyone if you can manage that.
Right. Well, and I was going to ask you, as a small business owner here in Utah, what are the benefits? What do you enjoy doing as a small business owner, and maybe what are some struggles that you deal with? You'd mentioned the cost of distribution, or of shipping rather. So give us some feedback on that, as far as, you know, what you love about it and what's not so great.
You know, I think I want to start with what we love about it. We love producing a product that people want and that they need. And it was really fun originally to start this, because everyone, when we said, we were thinking of making LDS temple clothing, and nearly every woman said, well, will you call me when you have it? I mean, that's pretty exciting to feel a need like that. And it continues day to day, and we still get information from and ideas and creative things from our customer base. So that's exciting, and it's fun, and it keeps you excited to continue going and creating. I think our customer service is the thing we love to do most. We're kind of a laid-back company here, as far as we want to meet the customer's needs. And so we will do whatever we can to meet their needs, to make those customers happy with the product. And I think that's been key for a niche product, is that customer service. Some of the more difficult things, obviously, is the economy right now. It's tough. People are looking for a good deal. They want value, so we have to make sure we have a very high-quality product for a very good price, and a product that will last a long period of time so that they can reuse that. I think that continues to be a struggle. I think competing with overseas companies that can do things on a dime might be a struggle, but we see that business coming back to the United States. We see some manufacturing coming back here.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So with the overseas, with your product being such a niche product, is that really an issue for you, or do you have a whole lot of competition? Or?
We don't have a lot of competition, no, we really don't. If women see a white blouse or a white sweater or a white skirt in a department store, they can always purchase that and wear it to the temple. But for the most part, it's just so easy knowing I can go to White Elegance and I can get what I want. It's going to be appropriate, it's going to be great value, and it's going to be a high quality product I look good in, and it's going to be my size. And that's the other thing. A lot of these I would suggest this for anybody going into business. You know, most businesses try to get that bell curve and get all that business right in the middle. There's a lot of people that fall on the sides, and those people falling on the sides they're very tiny for us, and they're very large. And so we can always meet those needs on that end too. The very tall and the very petite, we cover that area as well.
Okay. All right. Well, then tell us how people can find you.
They can find us by going to whiteelegance.com on the website, and that will list our stores. as well as you can purchase online, and you can also call us at 1-800-628-4742. We'll pick up that phone call and we'll walk you through an order. We have a lot of customers that are in their 70s, 80s, sometimes 90s, and they're a little hesitant.
Yeah, but to have that shipped right to them, I guess.
Shipped right to them. We
service.
ship. It is a nice service, and people think, well, if I order, then I have to wait 4 weeks. No, everything's produced and it's ready on the shelves to go out.
And what happens if it's not just right for them as far as the size?
Oh, we just have you put it right back in the box. There's a label in the package that comes to you. You put it on the box. Post office picks it up and it ships it back to us, and you tell us what you want done: exchange, return, whatever meets your needs.
Awesome. Sounds easy. All right. Well, thank you, Anna. Anna again with White Elegance, and appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Thank you.
Are you frustrated about your sales performance? Do you have the right people on your team? Are you stuck in a routine in terms of business development? Sandler Training is a global leader in sales and business development training and has been creating solutions and accelerating the success of high achievers for over 30 years. If it's time to take your business to the next level, contact Sandler Training at 801-639-0488. 801-639-0488. Is your business struggling with the cost of an employer-sponsored health insurance plan? Learn how your business and employees may benefit from new rules under the Affordable Care Act. There's no reason for you to continue bearing this unnecessary cost. Call the experts at Summit Risk Management and Insurance, 801-671-2431. That's 801-671-2431. Learn more at www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
If your business doesn't have social and mobile marketing strategies in today's digital marketing place, then you're quickly getting left behind. Don't get left behind, get Social 5. Social 5's team of professional writers, graphic artists, and tech experts helps businesses with mobile, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, SEO, campaigns, contests, plus more. For a free consultation, go to social5.com. Don't be invisible in today's digital marketplace. Get Social 5.
It's tough for small businesses to keep up with all the new regulations, the new healthcare law, employee handbooks, human resources, OSHA safety, employment discrimination and harassment, business insurance, workers' compensation. It is all so complicated. Most business owners are doing their best just to make a small profit. If there were only a simplified way to manage all of this, now there is. Summit Risk Management and Insurance can show you how. www.summit-risk.com. That's summit-risk.com.
Welcome back. Here's our second Utah Business Spotlight for the week.
Okay, well, Mark Hunter here, back again with Carl Walker of Certified Fire Protection, and a locally owned Utah-based fire protection company. And Carl, tell me a little bit about if someone has an alarm system or a fire extinguisher in their home, you know, shouldn't that be good enough? Should they feel protected?
Well, one thing I've learned in the years of experience I've had in the industry is a lot of people believe that because they have an extinguisher and they have an alarm system in their house, that their family and their belongings are actually protected. And to some degree that is true. Fire alarm systems will not protect property, they never will. But they do actually protect life, because it is your one opportunity, if it goes off and it works properly, to get up and gather your family and make your way out of the house. Well, the way an extinguisher works is there's a draw tube that goes down to the bottom and it's pressurized on top, and the pressure pushes down on the liquefied chemical and pushes it up the tube. Well, if it's hard, it can't go up the tube. So a lot of fires spread and get bigger because somebody will grab an extinguisher and they will do everything properly, twist, pull the pin, squeeze the handle, and pressure comes out of it, but no chemical, because it's hard as a rock in the bottom. So there are...
Not the time that you want that happening.
Yeah, that is not the time you want that to happen. And that's just a lack of education and people knowing that they have to be serviced. Every year they need to be hefted, tipped over, and the chemicals shaken up. And every 6 years they have to be completely rebuilt. And every 12 years they have to be hydro tested to make sure the cylinders are still good.
All right. So how would a sprinkler system be different then for say a homeowner?
Okay. So the advantage to a fire sprinkler system is NFPA 13R and 13D are residential codes. And those deal with high rises in multi-level and multi-family dwellings and single-family dwellings. Those systems are not designed to suppress fire, okay? Those systems are designed to give the occupants 15 minutes to gather their loved ones and get out to the street. And I don't know the exact number, it's in the high 90s of systems that are installed correctly and maintained, they extinguish the fire. When you listen to a news report about a fire that had happened and a sprinkler system extinguished it, they always dwell on the fact that the damage to the building due to the water was more than the fire.
Right, yeah.
If you remove the system from the building, what would the damage from the fire have been?
Yeah, 100%.
So all of a sudden it puts it into perspective that you went from a total loss to where, yeah, you had to rip off some sheetrock and change out some insulation, but the structure was there. And not only that, but when the fire department comes, you don't have people falling through roofs and floors because of the structural damage to a building and having firefighters injured. So fire sprinkler system in a house is your only guarantee that you will live, all of your belongings will still be there, and you'll have a place to come back home to. Okay. Fire alarms and extinguishers will not guarantee that for you.
Right. Well, that's a good point. Now, what happens if the power goes out, though, on a system like that?
Okay, fire sprinkler systems, and including fire alarms, I'll put in a plug for them. Fire alarms are completely driven by the batteries that are in them. So if the power goes out, the code requires that alarm system can operate for a 24-hour period of time, and then go into alarm and operate for, and I believe it's 5 minutes, I should know that, but 5 to 7 minutes that it has to actually function under full operation. So whether the power's on or not, it makes no difference. A fire sprinkler system, on the other hand, is completely hydraulic. So it's not dependent on power. It's not dependent on anything else. If the water supply was off, you'd have a problem. But some residential systems are fastened to their own water storage tank and pressurized tanks. So even if the water supply is gone, they'll still function.
Okay. Well, great. Carl Walker with Certified Fire Protection. Thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're back from break, and that was really two interesting businesses, Certified Fire Protection and White Elegance. I mean, totally different industries, but still great stories on how local folks just were able to start a new business basically from scratch.
Yeah,
and,
great niche industries.
Yeah, niche industries. They employ a good number of people, and it's always exciting to see that small business can have that kind of an impact.
Yeah, and impacting the local community for sure.
Absolutely. So as we're wrapping things up today, there's a couple things that we wanted to mention for next week. Next week we've got Rob Wellman from Social 5, who is going to be on talking about social media risk and rewards. And I think that all of us have seen where social media has been really deftly used by some organizations to help grow their brand and bring in new customers. And we've also seen some of the giant flops with social media where companies posted things that maybe they should have just kept to themselves. And it'll be interesting to hear Rob's take on how small business in particular can leverage social media.
I really think that'll be something that companies are going to be interested in, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of social media, if you'd like to connect with us, visit us on our website. And that website, again, is www.small2large.com. And remember, that's the number 2 in the middle. And you can learn a little bit more about us, about our programs that we're going to be offering, including our workshops, which we'll be announcing the workshops here in a couple of weeks. And we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, Chris, this is going to be a forum that's going to be a great help for small business owners, a place where executives and team leaders can attend, rub shoulders with other executives, and really kind of hash out some of the issues and learn, get educated on different things that can help grow their business, help them manage their business in a better way.
And I think that that's, one of our primary goals here is that so many people got into a certain field because they were really good at whatever it is, they happen to do. But running a business is challenging, and it's hard to be aware of everything that matters to your company and to stay on top of all the relevant trends and practices. And these workshops are going to be a great way to do that. So watch the website for information on those workshops that will be coming up soon. Of course, we'll also be announcing it on air when we get a little bit closer to the time for those workshops. And the really great thing is people like Larry, who we had on today, like Mike, who we had on last week, Rob, who's coming up next week. All of these guys are going to be participating in these workshops and presenting really great information. You'll be able to ask questions. And what a great way to just increase your business knowledge and, just kind of step things up a notch no matter what industry you're in.
Yeah.
So we've only got a few seconds left in today's show. Mark, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, well, we're so happy that you joined us today. Remember, we're going to be here every Wednesday from 9 to 10 on K-Talk. And, hey, just remember, this is a great day, and try and make it the best day of your life.